Welcome to the Enduro Method podcast. Enduro Method is an online strength and conditioning program built for those who ride by those who ride. We are professional coaches dedicated to building the best and most revolutionary off-the-bike training for dirt bikers around. We are offering a special discount for our podcast listeners. Use discount code EMPodcast22 for 50% off your first month. For more information, head to the description of this podcast where you can find the discount code and a link for more information and to sign up.
Welcome to the Enduro Method podcast. Josh here with Dane.
Hello.
And today I'm going to talk about stacking skills and fitness trade-offs. Just a different way to kind of think about these two ideas. So something I've been kicking around for a little while. I wrote a tiny little bit on one of the monthly dirts, I think, at the beginning about this, but just been thinking about it more and more, and it's kind of a cool framework, I think, to think about. So stacking skills to me is skills don't necessarily degrade with time once they've been built in. So once you've built the pathway out and you've maybe not even mastered the skill but become proficient at it, if you step away from that thing, when you come back to it, you might be a little bit rusty, but you're going to be able to pick that up really quick again. I mean, you could think all the way back to like riding a bike, right? It took a little bit to learn, but once you learned it, even if you didn't do it for years, you can jump back on that thing and pretty much pick up where you left off. Sure, there might be a little bit difference there, but not much. And so the more skill you build, the more you retain, the more those neural networks, whatever it is, are built in, the more you can put on top of it, right? And so, but with fitness in particular, it's stackable to a degree, but it also goes away when it's not used, and then you have to kind of rebuild that whole thing, depending on, if you took years off of kind of inactivity or if you have this baseline. But if you've built to this peak of fitness for you, at some point that peak's going to go down again, and then you're going to have to rebuild it. And there's different ways of having that, like a wave effect over time, where you build up, you decrease, you build back up, and each peak's a little higher than the last, and blah blah blah. So in that sense, it's definitely stackable, but it's different than skill.
Are you saying that like in terms of like cycles of a programming, like a deload week, you're dropping down?
Yeah, or if you take weeks off, right, and come back to it.
Like a cycle of programming?
Totally, or a cycle, an emphasis on different cycles. So from a fitness perspective, if you're really focusing on one area, say you want to get really strong, that's going to come at a detriment to being really aerobic or really being able to travel long distances fast, right? Now, there's obviously middle ground in there, but using world-class performers as an example, if you're a power lifter, so you can deadlift close to 1,000 pounds, squat close to 1,000 pounds, you are probably not going to be great at ultra marathons, right? And if you're an ultra marathoner, you're probably not going to have a relatively strong deadlift and squat and bench press from a world-class perspective, right? You have different talents. You've built different energy systems and strengths and carry different amounts of muscle mass and all those things. And so there's a middle ground in there where you can be really fit and really strong for sure. But if you're chasing the extremes, you're going to have a trade-off in there. From a skill perspective, that's not necessarily the case, except for the fact that you're spending so much time trying to acquire a skill. But if you get really good at playing guitar, that doesn't mean you can't be really good at riding your dirt bike. Does that make sense?
Maybe.
like investing, it's the amount of time you're investing in the skill that is the only detriment to not building other skill. But
so like if somebody would rather learn how to play the guitar than go play on their dirt bike, that's a detriment to the dirt bike, obviously.
Well, only in the sense that you're not practicing dirt biking.
Right.
But it's not necessarily directly taking away. Like if you get really strong, like really, really strong, you are going to be taking away from your endurance and your ability to have that aerobic fitness. Whereas, same, if you're getting really aerobically fit, it's probably at a detriment to how strong you are.
And what were you saying about the fitness? The fitness is...
Well, you gotta look at your trade-offs.
Right, but you said skills are stackable.
Yep.
Like, they never leave. You can keep stacking, building, growing on that. But then you said fitness is...
Well, you got trade-offs to think about. And so you want to arrange your fitness to your goals in the short term and potentially long term. But they need to be organized. I think more organized than skills.
How so?
Let's say you got a race in 3 months. You want to organize your fitness training to maximize that time in 3 months. So that would be the further away you are from the race, you're going to be doing your general stuff. And then the closer you get, you obviously need to be doing as close to specific for the event that you're participating in. And then after that event, depending what comes up next, you can drop back into, general stuff, whether that's training or some time off or whatever it is, and then look toward your next activity. And it doesn't have to be a race. It could be, hey, I want to look jacked for the summer. I don't know. You got a marathon. There's any number of things, but you just want to make sure that you're going in the right direction with your training to maximize whatever your goal is. Skills, similar. Like if you have an event, you want to practice the skills that you're going to need for that event. But after the event, the skills aren't necessarily going to degrade or go away if you don't use them. You'll be able to pick them back up where you left off.
What if I just want to train to be like a good dirt biker every weekend?
Well, same. I think you just need a general baseline of fitness to maintain. And then, your skill works when you're out riding.
Yeah.
But if you're looking to break your riding down into pieces, you can take little bits out of that. Like maybe you have problems with log trees crossings. So if you go practice that individual skill of getting over logs separate, once you have that baseline down pretty well, you're going to be able to go out and apply it even if you don't see a log for 6 months, right? Maybe you go to the desert, ride there for a long time. When you come back to the woods, you're not going to have to relearn from scratch how to get over that log every time. It's going to be an ingrained pattern that you're going to be able to call upon. Now, if you're on the fitness side, if you get really fit for whatever reason and you step away from that for 6 months, you're going to return to your kind of baseline homeostasis for the most part, your kind of general set point. Everybody's a little bit different, but that set point is just kind of where you are typically, right? And that has to do with how much you've worked out in your life, how active you are, genetics, all kinds of things. But where you are is kind of where you are. Stress, sleeping, lifestyle, kids, home life, everything, right? But that can be manipulated by what you add or take away. But in general, that's probably your baseline, right? And so if you return to that and you're going to lose whatever you had, and you're going to have to start back from scratch, if you will. to build that back up.
If you take 6 months off.
Or a given amount of time, right? I mean, we know that to maintain fitness, you need to do something. It doesn't have to be excessive, maybe 2 times a week or 1 to 2 times a week. But if you go from working out, let's say 5 or 6 days a week to no days a week for extended period, which would probably be a month plus, you're gonna definitely start losing some of the things that you've built. So fitness is very much in a state of flux all the time, right? It seems to be that you're either building fitness, maintaining fitness, but you're still doing a little bit in there to maintain, or it's degrading, which would be potentially being inactive. And so when you're just trying to, I don't know, organize these things in your head, you can't just, okay, well, I'm going to build fitness for 4 weeks, take 4 weeks off, and then build fitness for 4 weeks. And if I do that for a year, I'm going to have this massive gain. It's like, it doesn't quite work that way, right? Whereas from a skill perspective, you would absolutely gain in skill if you did something like that. And you would maintain it.
So what would you recommend for fitness then?
Well, train. I mean, find something that you like to do and do it, right? Obviously, I'm biased. You're probably a little biased as well. But there's certain demands for the sport of dirt biking, right? You don't need to be powerlifter strong, and you don't need to be ultra marathon cardio, but there's a middle ground in there. You need to be strong enough relative to your body weight. There are certain demands that we have because we ride a machine. And so we need to be strong enough to pick that thing up in various conditions, various terrain, multiple times potentially. You need to be fit enough to be able to get out and go for however long you're out on the bike for. And hopefully you're not destroyed for days on end when you get back. So, there's some parameters, but that really depends on what you ride, what you enjoy riding, how much you can ride, all that stuff.
I'm not going to say a mountain biker because I think mountain bikers probably have more of a skill in relation to dirt biking. But if you were to take a ultra, well, let's say...
Wait, what do you mean skill?
Well, like, they understand to look forward ahead of the trail. They understand, like...
Well, they're going so slow they don't have to look that far ahead. Just kidding.
But, like, I guess, like, I feel like people... Because I feel like I've seen a handful of people that ride and race mountain bikes there's like a pretty good transition to dirt biking, and they tend to catch on and do really well quickly, more quickly than somebody who is maybe not raced mountain bikes.
Yeah, I would say I think that it comes a little bit more with folks who downhill or enjoy going, like maybe cross country mountain biking.
Sure.
Okay, go ahead.
So what I was getting at is just a random thought I had. We'll say a person that races, what is it, 50K? How many miles is that?
Sure, I don't know, 25 to 30, I don't know, is that conversion?
50K, like top 5 finisher, starts dirt biking, and then you have a, top 5 in the, I don't know, maybe that's a hard shot, but like locally, maybe like in a, not across the U.S., but an area-wide top 5 powerlifter. Not international. I'm just saying like a pretty decent powerlifter versus the decent 50K top 5 placer. Take them both dirt biking, like fitness-wise. Where do you think who would stack up?
Like assuming that they have
they're both
similar dirt bike
their
skills.
skill levels are the same.
On a dirt bike?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say the mountain biker is probably going to do better.
I didn't do it. There's no mountain biker. It's the runner guy or the powerlifter
I thought
guy.
you said mountain biker.
That's why I said I'm gonna leave that guy out because he's gonna be.
Oh, the riding part.
Yeah. His skill level is likely gonna be higher.
I don't know.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
It's a really good question.
It's a question. I think that for the most part, the person who has the more cardio is going to do better.
Why?
Because it's a very cardio demanding sport. I think at dirt biking, barring endurocross and supercross, as an aerobic sport, for the most part, even hard enduro.
I would agree, just in the sense of comments from weightlifters of like having a hard time walking upstairs.
Right.
So like dirt biking, they'll have the strength to pick up the thing over and over and over again, but it's that part over and over and over again, and then they have to like do stuff between the over and over again.
Totally.
So you have to like walk upstairs, lift, walk downstairs, lift, walk upstairs, lift.
Right, and you need a modicum of aerobic fitness even to be a weightlifter. But
so what do you think the dangers
different.
are for the person that's the ultramarathoner?
Probably lack of strength would be my guess on this hypothetical question.
Hypothetical dumb question.
Yeah, and again, that's where you're looking at the trade-off and you're looking at what's best for the activity that you're doing, and it's generally strong.
Okay, let's throw mountain biking into the mix.
Fit.
So you keep talking about the runners and then the powerlifters, but mountain biking, I mean, there's kind of a lot of power. I mean, that's, if you're mountain biking, there's definitely power generation.
Absolutely. I think there's a potential to be a lack of upper body strength for moto with cyclists.
In what sense?
Depends what cycling discipline and how far they've taken it, but if you look at like road cyclists, weight's a big issue, and generally because their upper bodies don't do a whole lot, that's a trade-off, right? They sacrifice upper body muscle mass.
But why do you need it for dirt biking?
I'm
just playing devil's advocate here. Obviously, I know the answer.
Injury prevention would be one, and manipulating the machine over terrain is another.
Yeah, I definitely think it's hard because you're trying to stay loose in your arms, Josh. I am.
Everybody should be. Doesn't mean you don't need them.
Well, I was just thinking of like the constant maneuverability, like you're constantly
adjusting, moving, holding on.
So it's like,
sure, you want to be relaxed.
It's like running with your arms.
Kind of.
I'm not running, like a jog. You're like, should be like walking with your arms. What about the legs?
The legs are working full time.
They're working harder.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have no more dumb questions.
I don't think a dumb question. I think the main idea, hopefully, to take away.
Yeah, what's the takeaway here?
Skills are endless. You can stack them. Like, you start with the basic ones. Once you've built that skill out, you move on to the next, and you're not going to lose the one you've just built. I don't think fitness is that way. So, like, you are 100% going to lose what you've built when you stop doing it.
So basically, just your takeaway is practice your skills; they'll last you forever, and practice your fitness.
Well,
and
yeah,
don't stop.
the and these aren't my words, but it's the burden, the constant. What is it? The burden of constant fitness. The constant burden of fitness.
I mean, that makes sense.
Something like that, right?
Constant burden of fitness.
You have to daily. You're either increasing or decreasing. Like, there's almost no middle ground. Sure, there's some maintenance in there.
I would also
we're like an organic being, right? You're either ripe or you're rotten, and so, well, on some level, it's true. If you're not maintaining, which is actively doing something to maintain your fitness, it's going to be falling. and you're going to have to, there's a line in there that you have to do more to increase that. And then it's, what direction do you want to go? Are you trying to build strength? Because that's going to come at a detriment of building cardio. And if you're trying to build cardio, that's going to come at a detriment of building strength. So you can simultaneously do them on some low level, but if you're looking for high level differences, you're going to have to decide a direction and pick one to go. Skills, you pick a skill to practice, and the only detriment that comes to other skills is not being able to practice those other skills because you're spending your time doing that one. But when you leave that skill and practice another one, it's not coming at a detriment of taking away from the skill you just learned.
I may or may not have just blacked out, but somebody walked into our area and I lost my train of thought. So you might have just said this, so I'm sorry. But I was going to say with fitness too, it's not only like it's the health piece, you know, like there's more like a skill. There's no real like necessarily direct correlation between learning a specific skill and then like longevity, your health, your life, like your health versus like fitness, like that working out, that has a direct correlation to your health.
True. I think there's probably a direct correlation, and this is not, I have no proof for any of this, but I would imagine that building new skills is massively important from a mental health standpoint.
Yeah.
Right? Being involved, having a goal, pursuing those things, the accomplishments, blah, blah, blah.
But usually like the 4 pillars of health, you got your, exercise, sleep, nutrition, relationships, and mental.
Yeah. Worship.
What'd you say?
Yeah. No.
Did you say worship?
No, I did not.
Or shit?
No.
How's your pooping?
No.
You could add that in there.
That might be in there. Yes, I think, from a skill development and mental side, there's probably a lot in there. But
okay, there's 5. I like that, 5 pillars.
And then, from a health and longevity, life, what's the word? Quality of life standpoint.
Yeah, right, that thing.
Strength, muscle mass, aerobic ability is massively important. So even if you don't care about doing a sport or doing a thing, or you don't care, riding your dirt bike is your fun. You don't care about necessarily getting that much better at it. It's just what you do to get out and enjoy being outside and whatever. That there's still, in my opinion, no excuse not to train, because the training is what's going to allow you to do the other thing in the long term. So
boom.
It's just super important to have lean muscle mass, and ability to breathe.
For sure. So,
I don't know. Hopefully that made some sense, and there was some
value to that.
Some value in there. I know this concept isn't going to leave me alone, because I just keep constantly thinking about it. Hopefully I'll get more clarity and be able to articulate it better over time. But I think there's something there that's important. So stack skills, build them out, and then fitness, you got to prioritize, but basically constantly work at it. Because as soon as you stop working for it, it's going to start going away.
Word.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. That's it.
That sums it up. Well, thanks for listening to the Enduro Method podcast. We hope you got something out of this. If not, thanks for listening. Luckily, it was only 24 minutes of your day. But yeah, give us a follow on the socials at Enduro Method. You can reach us at enduromethod.com. We do offer a special promo for podcast listeners. So that was in the beginning of the podcast. Make sure to listen to that. You can just start it back over. I'm pretty sure the code is EMPodcast22. Listen to it again. It explains it. And I think it's also in the link in the bio of this show. Okay. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Bye.